Hello everyone and welcome back to another album review. In this video I'm going to review New Religion's Old Rules by J.K. Flesh. This is the brand new album out of this project of Justin K. Broderick, who is mostly known for being one of the members of the legendary group Godflesh. In J.K. Flesh he is mostly known into going into some industrial techno directions, which in my opinion in some of the occasions has actually served for some really great material when it comes to this genre. I was really fascinated when I've listened to EPs such as In Your Pit, which in my opinion contains some really good, slow and heavy industrial techno tracks, or also the one that he did on the Greek label P Electronics, which in my opinion offered some pretty intriguing results, especially with the first track being an amazing industrial techno song in my opinion. Due to projects like that, I'm looking forward to new material out of J.K. Flesh because in my opinion he goes into some pretty nice directions of industrial techno. It's mostly repetitive, it's pretty straightforward, but it has the appeal and basically what you would expect in the genre, and I feel that he does a pretty good job on what he creates. Though when it comes to his previous full-length album, I was slightly disappointed with the results. This was not what I expected, and for the most part I believe that it was just a pretty average release, even at its best. It was kinda disappointing for me and I didn't really get what I wanted out of it. So getting into this new J.K. Flesh album, I didn't necessarily know exactly what to expect. However, I was pretty satisfied with the results, and not only that, this album has even become a grower on me as I returned back to some of the tracks, and I feel that they just end up just becoming better and better, really serving as some really great material when it comes to industrial techno. This album really got me back to the sound that introduced me and made me love the works of J.K. Flesh with EPs like In Your Pit, and it's nice this time to get all of those appealing elements in a full-length album, a quite short one that only has 8 songs to it, but pretty much all of the material over here are some pretty solid industrial techno bangers, serving as the type of sound that I anticipated from him. It even was better than just that. In my opinion, this is one of the albums that contains some of the greatest body of works I've heard from J.K. Flesh. This is a really interesting release that in my opinion it's just a great recommendation for anyone who is fans of industrial techno. This is definitely one of the strongest recommendations out of recent albums in this genre, and the thing is that what you have over here is a pretty straightforward album. You know what you're getting into, you know what to expect, and it definitely delivers in this regard. It's just pretty standard repetitive stuff that just hit into the mood. They're dark, they're energetic, and they're just fitting for this dark and haunting club feel. Right from the bat we get an amazing introduction with the track Brainwash, which instantly gave me the vibes that I was looking forward to and that I loved listening to from releases like In Your Pit. Brainwash is a bit of a faster track when it comes to tempo, and it's just simply fine with the beat that it has to it, but then it drops the melodic bass portion, which sounds absolutely filthy and it's completely brutal and it sounds awesome. This is the type of sound that I wanted, and yeah, this is just an incredible industrial techno song. It's pretty simplistic, there's not like that much going on to it, but it doesn't really need to. You just have this really sick bass that sounds awesome and a really powerful beat, and that's simply enough. You get your variations and stuff that you would expect when listening to an industrial techno song, and this is simply it. That's all it needs, and it sounds awesome. This is an industrial techno anthem. In my opinion, Brainwash is a great example on how to make a solid track in the genre. There's no need to have that much to it. Black Sheep in my opinion is a great continuation out of this similar formula. It is another track that I would consider an industrial techno banger. It is really simplistic and really straightforward in its approach, and once again the melody and the brutal bass out of this track steal the show. I really like this type of sound that Justin K. Broderick uses to his songs. Then the next track, Others to Do Your Dirty Work, seems to go in a bit of a different approach, as it doesn't really focus that much on creating a melodic passage throughout about its sick bass sound rather than using those repetitive rapid scenes that go on, and this is the main focus when it comes to the melodic aspect out of the song. For the most part though, the beat and the bass response out of it seems to go into a much more monotone approach, which I think it's okay, but it doesn't really serve in my opinion as the greatest direction out of this particular sound of J.K. Flesh. I still think that this track is pretty decent, but it feels like a moment that it would be fleshed out into something more if it would have something slightly more melodic to it rather than just sounding this monotone, even though industrial techno can definitely go into approaches like this, but I much prefer the approach that he took with his previous two songs, and I think that we get it once again with the track Herd Mentality, which in my opinion was a pretty solid track the first time I've heard it, but it managed to be a grower on me as I really ended up liking the additional sound effects that would just add to the melodic aspect out of the song, and I think that it's pretty interesting that this track goes into actually two different routes. The melody at the second half is slightly different, which in my opinion makes for actually a pretty cool touch. It's also another track that has a pretty repetitive but really solid beat to it. I really like the particular use of hi-hat that he used for this track, which in my opinion sounds and feels pretty interesting. I think that the track Same Old Rules kinda suffers from the problem that I found with the third track. The thing is that Same Old Rules in my opinion would have definitely benefited much more if it could have taken the approaches of like the first tracks. If it could have a filthy bass to it in addition to this track, this could have made for a much better conclusion in my opinion, because what we get over here ends up feeling kinda lackluster. I feel that it constantly tries to get to the point that never reaches. I kinda like the melody out of the rapid plucky scenes, but it's not really what I wanted. I feel that it's a bit empty. I feel that there is a bit more to it and it never reaches that point. Then another track that managed to be a grower on me is the track Gullibility, which I feel that it's one of the most intriguing moments when it comes to the directions with the beat and the way the melody goes, and it especially stands out when it has these additional sound effects that in my opinion add so much to the dark atmosphere of the song and make it sound much better, really adding to this sense of a haunting industrial track. And yeah, for me, this one serves as another solid moment out of this album. In my opinion, this album saves some of its more underwhelming moments for last. The track Targeted, in my opinion, is just a really repetitive song that doesn't really offer that much to it. I don't think that it contains some of its strongest ideas, and so I don't really end up finding this track in particular being also one of the lengthiest to really feel that much compelling. It's another moment that felt kinda lackluster in my opinion. And finally we have the track Willing Servant, which ends up going into a slightly different direction compared to almost anything else in the album, but we still get a pretty standard beat, and as far as I kinda like the direction that it took with its sounds, with the synths and the way it just has this bass response to it, I don't particularly find that it's one of the most compelling ideas once again, but it's still not a bad song. I think that what we get for the most part, it's a pretty short, consistent and straight to the point album that really manages to get the job done, and so at this point I don't really have that many things to add to this release. The only thing that I can say beyond that is that this is a strong recommendation in regards to industrial techno. If this is your thing, I think that this is an album that is gonna be to your liking, and in my opinion it serves as one of the greatest stuff I've heard from J.K. Flesh. I'm gonna give New Religion's Old Rules an 8- out of 10. What's your opinion on this album? Like it, dislike it, why, and what do you want to review next time? Let me know down in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.